Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something pretty unique.
Yeah, we are.
We're going to try and weave together some threads from ancient prophetic texts, think specific Bible verses, some insights from the Book of Enoch, and connect them to events from, well, basically last night. News reports from June 26th, 2025.
Right. And our goal here, our mission, if you like, is to look for what we're calling non-random content.
Non-random content.
Yeah, trying to see if there's evidence of, a purpose, a prophetic design maybe unfolding in history right in front of us, looking for patterns that seem like more than just coincidence.
Okay, patterns beyond chance. Let's dive in. Where do we start? Maybe 1 John 5.16, the sin unto death. That sounds heavy.
It does, but it's best understood, I think, as spiritual death, specifically apostasy.
Apostasy, so like a deliberate turning away.
Exactly, a conscious, unrepentant rejection of Christ. Prophetically, it's like a spiritual thermometer for what the Bible calls the last days.
And you're saying the temperature is rising?
You could say that.
Yeah.
We see, a lot of indicators pointing to increasing deception, people turning from truth, even within, religious communities.
Interesting. Okay, let's shift to Genesis, chapter 23, verse 2. Abraham buying the cave of Machpelah in Hebron. Seems like just an old land deal. How is that prophetic today?
Well, that's what's fascinating, isn't it? Hebron, even now, is like this microcosm.
Microcosm.
Yeah, a small picture of the bigger ongoing geopolitical and, frankly, spiritual battles over the land of Israel. Abraham's purchase wasn't just about a burial plot. It was tied to God's promise to his descendants.
And the connection to now?
It's that the conflict still flares up right there.
Yeah.
The news reports from yesterday about Israeli settlers attacking West Bank villages, Palestinians killed.
Yeah.
Often these flashpoints are near or related to Hebron.
Wow. So it's not random violence. It's tied to these deep ancient roots.
That's the argument, yes. A persistent historical echo, not just chance.
Okay. In a world where truth feels, I don't know, kind of slippery sometimes, what about 2 John 1.2? It talks about truth dwelling in us.
Right. And that truth isn't just an idea. It's tied directly to Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit living within believers. It's meant to be this solid foundation.
That anchor.
Exactly. Prophetically, this enduring truth and the people holding onto it, they stand out. They're meant to be distinct amidst all the deception and false teaching swirling around.
Which kind of echoes Psalm 96.9, right? The call to worship in the beauty of holiness.
Precisely. When genuine holy worship diminishes, when it gets replaced by, unholiness or just self-focus, that itself is seen as a key sign of these perilous times.
And that phrase, perilous times, brings us straight to 2 Timothy 3.1, Paul's warning. What did he say drives these dangerous times?
He points right at extreme self-centeredness. Is pretty blunt.
Like what?
Phrases like lovers of their own selves, lovers of money. It's not just bad behavior. Paul presents it as the root cause, the thing that unravels society, family, spiritual life. It directly leads to those dangerous, difficult conditions.
Okay, let's bring in another perspective. The Book of Enoch, it's not in everyone's Bible, but it has some vivid imagery, right?
Very vivid. It talks a lot about divine judgment on ungodly humanity, on the corrupted watchers, these fallen angels in the text, and often describes huge earth changes, cataclysms.
And how does that fit our pattern seeking?
Enoch sort of provides a causal chain. It shows widespread corruption, violence, forbidden knowledge, things that sound a lot like 2 Timothy's list, and says essentially this leads to divine judgment. But then, crucially, that judgment clears the way for restoration.
So corruption, judgment, then renewal.
Basically, yeah.
And someone who tried to systematize all this biblical prophecy was Barton Payne. Why is his work important here?
Payne did this massive study, his Encyclopedia of Biblical Prophecy. His point was that these prophecies aren't just scattered random predictions.
He saw structure.
Yes. An organic, interconnected whole, as he put it. He argued that prophecies about, say, political events and prophecies about moral decline actually fit together, supporting the idea of a literal future fulfillment. It backs up our premise of looking for non-random patterns in history that align with this bigger divine plan.
Okay, this is where we connect it all back to the news from June 26th, 2025. Last night, we saw a lot of geopolitical instability reported.
We certainly did. The ongoing Gaza war, Russia's invasion of Ukraine continuing, terrorism in Russia itself. These major conflicts are escalating or grinding on.
And you mentioned the West Bank settler attacks near Hebron.
Exactly. That direct echo of the ancient conflict, right where Genesis placed that significant event, it's hard to ignore.
And beyond the wars. societal.
Also pretty turbulent, right? The news highlighted protests over immigration crackdowns, deep divisions there, people struggling with cuts to social programs, ongoing distrust about vaccines, allegations of political corruption bubbling up.
Even protests over a billionaire's wedding you mentioned.
Yeah, which might seem trivial, but it taps into that lovers of money, the societal friction, the sense of injustice or misplaced priorities that Paul warned about. It all paints a picture.
So it's not just one thing. It's the fact that all these things, the geopolitical conflict, the societal breakdown, the moral decay indicators seem to be ramping up at the same time.
That's the key point, simultaneous escalation. It forms this really compelling pattern that lines up quite strikingly with the descriptions of the last days in these texts we've discussed.
Not random.
It suggests potentially a non-random convergence, a critical moment in prophetic history unfolding, maybe right now.
So, wrapping this deep dive up, we've traced these threads from ancient texts through historical analysis like Payne's, right up to today's headlines. And the picture that emerges suggests these aren't random dots, but part of an unfolding, maybe meticulous divine design.
Right. And the point isn't to cause fear or despair.
No, absolutely not. It's more about maybe encouraging faithful living, vigilance. Remember the Apostle Paul? In 2 Corinthians, he talks about learning not to trust in himself, but in God, which raiseth the dead.
Even when things look like they're decaying or falling apart, the belief is that God is working towards new life, toward ultimate victory. It's sometimes called redemptive decline.
Redemptive decline. Things worsen, but it's heading somewhere good.
That's the idea, a decline leading towards a promised, glorious restoration.
So the final thought for you, the listener, is this. If we are seeing signs that redemption is drawing near, what does it mean for you personally to walk in truth and worship in the beauty of holiness in light of all this? Something to think about.